Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz, and today I've got a list of my top 10 favorite Kino Lorber releases for you. These are all movies that are on 4K because, as it turns out, all of my favorite Kino Lorber releases also happen to be their 4K releases. This video is part of a still relatively new series that I just started last year called Boutique Spotlight, whereas, like the title implies, I choose a specific boutique or independent film distributor, and then I briefly, spend a few minutes talking about them, tell you what I like about them, and then I also offer a top 10 list of my favorite titles from that boutique, or my favorite releases from that boutique. Now, I've only done one other installment of this series, and that was a while ago now. It was last year. And the way I did that first episode is a little bit different than how I'm going to be approaching this series today and moving forward. For that first episode, I was focused on Turbine Media, and they had sent me a few 4K releases to review on the channel. So I incorporated those 4K reviews into my boutique spotlight. But normally I won't do things that way. Normally there won't be like more detailed reviews in with my boutique spotlight. Normally I'll just do like I'm going to do today. I'll talk about the boutique briefly for a few minutes, and then I'll do like a top 10 list of my favorite titles from that boutique. All right, so we've got Kino Lorber here today, and first off, can they even be considered a boutique? I mean, is that an accurate term to describe Kino Lorber? I don't know. I don't know, because they've actually gotten quite large, right? They're not as small as like something like Vinegar Syndrome or Second Sight. I mean, they've got a pretty substantial selection of titles under their belt. So I'm not sure if boutique is really the most appropriate terminology to use here when we're talking about Kino Lorber, but I just use the term boutique as a form of shorthand to describe any independent film distributor that's not one of the major studios like Warner Brothers or Universal or Paramount or something. Now, the thing I find interesting about Kino Lorber is they're not the kind of label that really like goes into like the collectible packaging or the limited edition box sets or anything like that. That's not really their thing. That's not really the appeal of Kino Lorber. What makes Kino Lorber great, and the main reason I like them and tend to buy a lot of their titles, is because of their massive selection of movies. They have an incredible selection of American classics, and that really is their thing. That's kind of what they focus on. American classics from like the last 100 years or so. Now, I like them for the 70s, 80s, 90s action and other genre films. That's the main reason I personally get into Kino Lorber, but they really do have a lot of different types of movies. It's not just one or two or three genres. Like, they've got a ton of different genres and subgenres of films that they include in their catalog. So they don't just do like different types of action films. They also do like thrillers and dramas, westerns and comedies, slice of life movies. They dabble in horror films a little bit as well. They've just got so many different types of films that they're able to offer their customers. And the reason I like them so much is because a lot of times the only way I can find a certain film is through a Kino Lorber release. They've actually been around for a long time, like over 45 years in some capacity or another. Now, their current physical media distribution model, which is known as Kino Lorber Studio Classics, that's been around since about 2014. And that's the Kino that we know and love and that we buy titles from. And I buy a lot of Kino titles, right? Both in Blu-ray and 4K, because they often seem to have the movies that I'm looking for. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if I found out that there were more Kino Lorber titles in my collection, both on Blu-ray and 4K, than from any other single boutique. And sometimes Kino is really the only game in town for certain types of movies. You know, I love a lot of old genre films. I'm constantly blind buying movies and discovering new movies that are older movies from the 70s and 80s and 90s that I've never seen, especially from the 70s and 80s. And it always seems like Kino Lorber has so many of these movies that I'm interested in, and so many of the movies that I'm exploring and discovering and blind buying. So I've ended up with a whole lot of Kino Lorber Blu-rays in my collection. And I absolutely applaud all the great work that they are doing in the name of film preservation because they are keeping so many of these American classics alive. So Kino's main selling point is their selection of titles, but I should note they usually put out some pretty decent looking releases as well in terms of a decent looking transfer. And this is especially true of their 4K releases. Personally, I have found their 4K releases to be pretty consistent across from one release to the next. I mean, I think we usually get fairly consistent quality. I mean, we might get a 4K here and there that maybe doesn't quite measure up to some of their other 4K releases, that maybe doesn't quite hit the mark. But for the most part, I have found that their quality is pretty consistent. And the other factor is, I think a lot of times it just depends on what they're allowed to do with the films that they're licensing from the major studios, right? What the major studios allow them to do with the films. Yeah, I don't really know how much of the restoration work is done in-house. I've been under the impression that a lot of times Kino Lorber is just putting out whatever materials the studio has given them to release. You know, whatever restoration or scan the studio has given them to release, that's what we end up getting from them. I wasn't under the impression that Kino Lorber did a lot of like in-house restoration on their own. Maybe they do the HDR pass and the HDR grading for Dolby Vision and whatnot. I don't know, but I've always assumed they're just putting out whatever the studios authorize them to put out. I've heard that sometimes major studios will place very like strict conditions on what they can and can't do with the movies that they're licensing, where we've got like all these legal conditions on like how the movie can be released and like what kind of special features can be included, what kind of artwork can be included, that sort of thing. But I would say overall, I've been pretty happy with most of the transfers that I've gotten from Kino Lorber. I usually think they look pretty good. And again, this is especially true of their 4K releases. Their 4K releases can look damn good. And there is almost always a notable upgrade over Blu-ray. And as such, it is of course Kino Lorber 4K titles that occupy the entirety of my Kino Lorber top 10 list. So without any further ado, let's get into this list and rock it. All right, so starting off with our number 10 here, we've got a Brian De Palma film here from 1980 that looks just amazing on 4K. I'm talking about Dressed to Kill. Michael Caine in this one, Angie Dickinson, and Nancy Allen, who I've always had a bit of a crush on. And let's be real here, Nancy Allen looks smoking hot in this film. I mean, can anybody really deny that? I mean, yeah, well, all right, I'll move on from that. But anyway, great little Hitchcockian thriller, kind of a mystery thriller. And there's definitely hints of like Italian giallo in this as well. It's almost like this is like kind of an American version of a giallo film. So, but I absolutely love this one, and a big De Palma fan. I just love the artistry of De Palma, and that's definitely on display here. Now, it's worth noting that there is an Arrow video release of this movie as well on 4K. That is a UK only release. So if you're in the UK, you might decide you prefer the Arrow video release. That might make more sense for you. But in the United States, we've got the Kino Lorber release. And, you know, I wasn't disappointed in how this came out on 4K at all. I thought this looked great on 4K. And yeah, it's great atmosphere. I think that's what this film's all about for me. It's the atmosphere. Just love it. So yeah, for my number 10, Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill. Okay, and for my number 9, we've got a film here I've mentioned a couple times on the channel before, but I think a lot of these are going to be ones I've mentioned at least at some point or other on the channel. But this is a great film from 1975, 3 Days of the Condor, Robert Redford. Yeah, this is one that I've always loved. This is probably my favorite Robert Redford film. You just definitely can't go wrong with something like this. Faye Dunaway in this one as well, and I love Faye Dunaway. And Max von Sydow as well, who is always great in pretty much anything I've ever seen him in. So such a classic film, and kind of a CIA spy thriller here. So if you've never seen this one, I would definitely recommend it. And a great looking 4K, another great looking 4K. I was really happy with how this one turned out. This was one I was anticipating because this is kind of a special one for me. Me and this film go way back, like, I don't know, 35 years or something like that, 30 years. I used to watch this all the time, and I've seen it so many times. It's a comfort movie for me. It really is. So I've always enjoyed this one, and when we got the 4K release, I was really excited about it, and I was really happy with how it turned out. It looks fantastic in 4K. So yeah, classic film, 3 Days of the Condor for my number 9. Moving right along to my number 8 here, another classic, right? Absolute classic, Death Wish from 1974. The great Charles Bronson. You can't go wrong with Bronson. And, this restoration looks great. They did it justice. They definitely did this film justice. It is a fantastic looking restoration. Now, do I like it as much as the Vinegar Syndrome restoration of Death Wish 2? Not quite as much, but it's pretty close. That Vinegar Syndrome restoration of Death Wish 2 was really something else. But this is a very solid restoration, and I definitely was not disappointed by it. So, yeah, classic film. I don't know how much you can really say about this one. You guys all know what Death Wish is, right? Although there is one interesting thing to note about this, the early Jeff Goldblum appearance. He plays one of the thugs in this, and it's pretty interesting seeing Jeff Goldblum in such an early role. But aside from that, I'm not sure what else I can really say about this. It's a fantastic looking 4K, so if this is a film that you are a fan of and you've never upgraded to 4K, this is one I would definitely recommend doing when you get a chance. So yeah, for my number 8, Death Wish. Now, before I continue, I should note something about this particular top 10 list. I'm noticing as I go through these that there really isn't a whole lot of difference in terms of like ranking these titles. There's not a whole lot of difference between, say, my 9 and 10 and my 1 and 2 in terms of like quality, right? In terms of like transfer quality. Most of my top 10 titles here are all fairly comparable. They all look really, really good on 4K, and that's why I chose them for this list. So I wouldn't put too much weight on the actual ranking of these titles. I mean, I did go through and rank them, but it was kind of hard to do. I kept shuffling around my rankings because, they really are all fairly comparable in quality. And it was hard to decide, which titles to put in front of other titles. It was a tricky game. So the point is, if you're a fan of any of these movies, you're probably not going to be disappointed by the 4K transfers on these movies. Okay, so let's get to my number 7 here. From 1998, Ronin on 4K. This is one I was really excited about when it came out because I'm a huge fan of this film. My favorite era for Robert De Niro, mid to late 90s, early 2000s. That's about my favorite era for De Niro. But this looks really good on 4K. You got a great cast here, of course. Besides just De Niro, you got Sean Bean is in this, John Reno, Stellan Skarsgård, Jonathan Pryce, and it really is an awesome little heist film. So, and one of my favorite heist films. It's definitely up there in like the top 5 or top 10 of my all-time favorite heist films. So, love Ronin. You definitely can't go wrong with this on 4K. If you are a fan of this film and you haven't upgraded it to 4K yet, I would highly recommend this. And I haven't seen this released by any other boutique, like in the UK or anything like that. So far, this is the only game in town. If you want this movie on 4K, this is the release to get. So yeah, awesome stuff. Ronin for my number 7. All right, and continuing with the whole De Niro groove here, for my number 6, this one I was actually pretty surprised when it was first announced that it was coming to 4K, because I never thought this one would get a 4K release, or at the very least, I wasn't sure if this one would ever get a 4K release, but it did. The Score, and what year is this? 2001. Yeah, one of my favorite De Niro movies. This is actually one of my favorite De Niro performances, along with Heat. right? Absolutely love this. Of course, I'm a big fan of heist flicks as well, so I was especially excited when I found out this was coming to 4K. Never really saw it coming, but I was pumped. And so this was a day one purchase for me. So yeah, you got Robert De Niro here, Edward Norton, one of my favorite Edward Norton performances as well. You also got Marlon Brando in this and Angela Bassett. So really solid cast, really well done heist film. And yeah, it's just a great film all the way around. And it's one I've talked about a few times on the channel. So if you're a fan of heist movies and a fan of this one in particular, and you don't own it on 4K yet, you should definitely pick it up on 4K because it looks really good. It looks fantastic in 4K. Definitely a notable upgrade over my previous Blu-ray. So yeah, for my number 6, The Score. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on the channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do, don't forget to activate that notification bell as well so you can be alerted whenever I'm posting videos that you might dig. Also, please don't forget to like the video as well. It seems like a really small thing, but believe it or not, that really does help with the channel's visibility, with the video's visibility, and the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Next up for my number 5, another movie I've talked about a few times on the channel. This is a comfort movie for me for sure, and it's another one that when I found out this was coming to 4K, I was super excited because this goes all the way back to my childhood. I'm talking about Escape from Alcatraz from 1979, a film that I have seen so many times in my life. Definitely has a high rewatch value for me, and you just can't go wrong with Clint Eastwood in this one, but really good looking 4K release, some great detail, and lots of depth and pop to the image on this one as well. So if you are a fan of this movie, Escape from Alcatraz, one of the all-time great prison movies, then I would highly recommend picking this one up on 4K. You definitely owe it to yourself to upgrade to 4K if you already have it on Blu-ray. I think it's worth the upgrade for sure. So yeah, awesome film, another classic, Escape from Alcatraz for my number 5. Okay, and moving right along to my number 4 here, and this, some people might actually consider this to be a demo-worthy title. This looks damn good on 4K. I'm talking about the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 from 1974. Another classic, right? And I'm a big fan of the Tony Scott remake as well. I'm a big fan of that movie. I love the Tony Scott remake, but I also love the original, and this looks just incredible on 4K. You got Walter Matthau here. You got Robert Shaw, Hector Elizondo. Yeah, just good stuff. I'm not sure what else I can really say about this one. It's a very, very solid kind of like hostage negotiation type movie. So if by some chance you've never seen this one and you're someone who likes to blind buy things and take a little chance from time to time, this is one I would recommend taking a chance on. It is just a really good film, and it's really well done all the way around. So yeah, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 for my number 4. All right, for my number 3, another one that I think many people would consider a demo-worthy 4K, and I'm talking about To Live and Die in L.A., 1985 film here, directed by the great William Friedkin. And yeah, this is an awesome film, and it looks damn good on 4K. You definitely can't go wrong with this one on the 4K format. If you're a fan of the film and you were thinking about upgrading, but you haven't done it yet, I would strongly recommend it. This is a fantastic 4K. So yeah, it's about a couple Secret Service agents. And I'm not going to get into the story too much. I don't want to say too much. If you're interested in it and you've never seen it, I'll let you kind of look up the synopsis and whatever. I don't like to say too much about these movies when I'm talking about them, but this is a really good one. And yeah, I was really impressed with this one when I got it. Now, this was actually a blind buy for me at the time when it first came out. I had never seen this film at the time, and I had heard so many great things about it. And the film did not disappoint. So if it's a blind buy for you and it looks like the kind of thing you might be into, then I would recommend checking it out, especially if you're a fan of other William Friedkin films. This is every bit as gritty and as edgy as anything else he's done. So yeah, awesome stuff. For my number 3, To Live and Die in LA. Okay, and then for my number 2, we've got a John Woo film here, and John Woo in 4K. I mean, what's not to love about that? Of course, I'm talking about the 1993 film Hard Target, Jean-Claude Van Damme. You also got Lance Henriksen in this and Wilford Brimley. Yeah, this is an awesome 4K release, and definitely one of the better 4Ks that I think we've ever received from Kino Lorber. They did not disappoint with this restoration. It looks every bit as good as you would hope it would on the 4K format. You also get the unrated international cut of the film, so that is definitely a bonus. So yeah, if you're a Jean-Claude Van Damme film and you don't have this one on 4K, I'd say of all the Jean-Claude Van Damme films out there on 4K, this is the one to get. It really does look fantastic. And I mean, there are some other 4Ks out there that are good from other companies, Bloodsport and whatnot, that looked good too. But for my money, I think of all the Jean-Claude Van Damme films so far that we have on 4K, this is my favorite in terms of, how the transfer looks, how the restoration looks and whatnot. It really is fantastic on the 4K format. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one if you don't have it yet. I think you'll find it is absolutely worth the upgrade. So yeah, for my number 2, Hard Target. And then for my number 1, I've got another John Woo film. I mean, I didn't plan it this way for my number 1 and 2 choices to both be John Woo films. It just kind of worked out that way, and I didn't even realize that until just now when I was looking at this. But from 1997, Face Off. Yeah, I think this is probably my favorite Kino release to date on 4K. Although it's really close. Most of the titles on my top 10 list here are fairly comparable to each other, but I couldn't help but feel like the John Woo films, they actually stand out on 4K among the entire Kino Lorber catalog. This looks fantastic. The detail is really crisp. You get a nice filmic look to it. You still get that grain, that nice, very light grain, kind of light filmic look that gives it that cinematic look. Yeah, you definitely get that with this. Lots of depth and presence and pop to the image, and yeah, just incredible detail. So, but I mean, all of these look great on 4K. All of these in my top 10 today. But the John Woo films, there's something about the John Woo films, both Hard Target and Face Off, that they just look really stunning in 4K. And they're some of the best 4K releases that Kino has put out, in my humble opinion. So yeah, awesome stuff. Nicolas Cage, John Travolta, and this was one that was very anticipated on 4K. We love those 90s Nicolas Cage action films, and now we're finally starting to get them. I hear Con Air is coming soon, and The Rock is going to be coming on the horizon, but this was kind of the first one that was like, gave us some signs of hope that we might actually start getting some of these awesome Nicolas Cage 90s, cheesy 90s action flicks on 4K. And so when this came out, it was a pretty big deal. And yeah, I'm glad we got it. Still to this day, I believe, at least as of this video recording, the only way you can get this film on 4K is from Kino Lorber. There's no other boutique out there that's released their own versions. So yeah, if you want this bad boy, you got to get it from Kino. So for my number 1, Face Off. All right, so that covers some of my favorite 4K releases from Kino Lorber, but I wanted to be able to also kind of touch on their vast catalog of Blu-ray releases as well. So I thought I'd use the honorable mentions section today to just kind of go through some of the things I picked up on Blu-ray, just to give you kind of an idea of some of the things that they offer, some of the types of films that they offer out there on Blu-ray. So I went through and I picked out a bunch of Blu-rays from my shelves that I thought, were a good representation of Kino Lorber in my collection. And I'm just going to kind of breeze through these pretty quickly. In fact, I'm not even going to use like the little text title things that I use on the screen usually for when I'm showing titles. I'm not even going to do that for these Blu-rays, because I'm going to go through them so quick. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of some of the great titles that Kino Lorber has put out on Blu-ray over the years. So let's start with Runaway Train. This is a Cannon Films movies. Kino does a lot of those old Cannon Films movies, and I really appreciate that because I collect quite a few old Cannon Films movies. This is, of course, a Jon Voight film. Got Rebecca De Mornay in this as well as Eric Roberts. This is a fun one and one I would definitely recommend if you've never seen it. Also, Black Moon Rising. This is, I think, from 1986, and you got Tommy Lee Jones here and Linda Hamilton just a couple years after she made Terminator, and this is a lot of fun too. Great little genre film from the 80s. For horror fans, they put out stuff like Trilogy of Terror, Karen Black, an absolute classic. It was I believe it was a made-for-TV thing that aired back in the, early 70s. So, and yeah, I just love this. Horror classic for sure. Trilogy of Terror. And also another horror one, just because I wanted to kind of show you the horror side, Nightmare Beach. And I believe Kino's actually since put this out on 4K. I think that was a Kino Lorber release. This has a 4K release now, but I didn't really feel the need to upgrade it to 4K. I'm happy with my Blu-ray here. So yeah, Nightmare Beach, little fun horror flick here with John Saxon in it. 80s teen stuff, like teenage angst in the 80s, like Tough Turf here. And who's in this? James Spader, Kim Richards. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is in this as well. I've only watched this once, and interestingly enough, I actually got the tip on this film from Garrett over at Born to Be Rad. He was the one that, I mean, he talks about this film quite a bit, or he has a couple times over the years on his channel. And I had never seen it before I picked this up, and I really loved it. And, you know, it was right up my alley. Of course, being someone who was a teenager in the 80s, I'm kind of surprised that I never encountered this one until just a couple years ago. So, but yeah, really fun one, Tough Turf. Another one I mentioned not too long ago, I believe in a collection update, Mel Gibson, Goldie Hawn, Bird on a Wire. Another fun film that I had a blast revisiting recently. And then I've got some slip-covered editions here. Sometimes they come with slipcovers, sometimes they don't. It just depends on, I guess, how old the release is and whether or not their stock of slip-covered editions has sold out or not. But sometimes I'm lucky enough to get a Blu-ray with a slip. And of course, Kino's always reissuing stuff. They're constantly reissuing titles on Blu-ray. And when they do that, they usually include a slipcover with their new reissued Blu-ray releases, right? So one such example of that is Roy Scheider and Margaret in 52 Pickup. Great little thriller here for those who are into that sort of thing. And then what else? Oh, and this is a John Frankenheimer film. And I think that's why I grabbed it, because it was a Frankenheimer film. And I've got another Frankenheimer film here, The Challenge. Great film with Scott Glenn. This one's a lot of fun. Again, another Frankenheimer film there. This one I just talked about not too long ago in a collection update. I mentioned that I had picked up Cherry 2000. I don't know if I had seen it at that point when I did that update, but I've since watched it. And this was like a blind buy for me. This was a first time watch, and I totally loved it. I thought this was awesome. I had so much fun with this one, and was really glad that I picked this up. It was quite the treat. So yeah, Cherry 2000. Let's talk about Chuck Norris. Kino Lorber has done a fantastic job of making sure that Chuck Norris fans are really well taken care of. And here's a couple examples I pulled from my shelf. The Octagon. This is a fun movie, although I have to admit, you know, the little inner monologue that we get to hear from Chuck Norris's character the entire movie, like you actually get to hear what the dude is thinking, and it's kind of it's pretty cheesy. It's pretty bad. You know, I would have not done things that way. But if it weren't for that inner monologue, that inner dialogue that he has with himself that we get to hear the whole way through the film, I would probably enjoy this one even more, because that inner dialogue is pretty bad. It's pretty bad, but still a fun film, regardless of that. So yeah, The Octagon, another Chuck Norris film here, Good Guys Wear Black. Check out those shades. How cool is that, right? you gotta love it, right? And then another Chuck Norris one here. Again, I just pulled these for some examples. A Force of One here. Jennifer O'Neill, who was also in Scanners, which I just talked about in my last video. So yeah, good stuff. And then, then there's ninja stuff too. Kino's really good at servicing the ninja fan community. Again, Canon Films. Kino Lorber has become almost like a one-stop shop for Canon Films, old Canon Films movies, including things like Revenge of the Ninja, which was just released or reissued last year on Blu-ray. So I had to pick it up because I wanted to get a slipcover for this one. And then also, along with the same series, Enter the Ninja also was just reissued last year. Which, again, they do a lot of that reissuing of older movies. And both of these are titles that they had previously released on Blu-ray, right? But they had put them on like a BD25 disc, many years ago. And so what they did to reissue them is they actually get you a higher quality encode on a BD50 disc now. And of course, they include the slipcovers. So it gives people the incentive to pick up these reissues. And as you can see, I was very receptive to the idea of adding these reissues to my collection. And then the last honorable mention while we're on the topic of ninja is American Ninja, right? And they put out multiple American Ninja films. I think there's, what are there, like 4 of them? And I think Kino's put them all out on reissued them just like this. This was also part of that whole reissue thing that they were doing. Same deal, higher quality encode on a little bit higher capacity disc, a BD50 disc, and you get the slipcovers. Right, so yeah, Kino Lorber just has put out a ton of great titles on Blu-ray, and so for my honorable mentions today, I just wanted to kind of show you some of the stuff that they put out, or at least the stuff that's caught my attention and that appealed to me, just to give you guys an idea of what kind of selection they have, because that's really what it comes down to, right? With Kino Lorber, their selection of titles is massive, and it's very, very impressive. And that's the main reason I buy movies from Kino Lorber, is because of their impressive selection of titles. I can always find a lot of classic American genre films from Kino Lorber, and that appeals to me very much. That's my jam. American genre films, yeah, I'm all over that kind of stuff. Okay, so that about wraps it up for my boutique spotlight on Kino Lorber and my top 10 favorite Kino Lorber releases. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of my choices today? Do you own any of these yourself, or do you plan to own any of these at some point? Let me know what some of your favorite Kino Lorber releases are. I always enjoy conversing with you guys and interacting with you in the chat, so make sure you leave me some feedback down below. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.